If extraterrestrials have been here all along, or visiting us from other stars, or maybe even dimensions, how many different species have been witnessed? This week, the Jackalopes will explore the various species of beings that have been reported by abductees and ufologists, as well as the whistleblowers. I'm Floyd Whiting.
I'm Aaron Linden.
And I am both Steve Sisson and Emmy Whiting today.
Steve Sisson embodying
Yes.
all of it. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. He's astro projecting.
So I'll have to make myself laugh because Steve always just...
So
he
she
start-
just
he
burst
starts
into
to
laughter.
giggle,
Yeah.
and then I laugh out loud.
You're the debunker.
Yeah,
Maybe
Okay.
he's a starseed.
I'm not. I'm not the
Maybe
debunker.
he is. I have some questions I'd like to ask you to see if you are.
Right? Oh my God.
Don't try to make me the scientist here.
So some people speculate that there are up to 82 species of extraterrestrial beings that populate the universe, with many of them actually visiting Earth. So it was very hard to kind of narrow this down, because even some of the experts, and I mean like real expert whistleblowers, these individuals who have connections to these government agencies back in the day. I mean, some are like, there's 4 who've been here. That one I've heard the most from these guys, these
Right.
whistleblowers, is that there's 4 that are here quite consistently. But then I've heard, there's 14, there's 23. Everyone's got a different number. So what I did is I went to the Mutual UFO Network.
MUFON.
And if you don't know about MUFON, then
What a great name.
oh, it's
it's
fantastic.
the coolest name.
And
love
and
it.
they actually take what I enjoy about MUFON is they take this seriously. You know what
Well,
I
their
mean?
name is goofy, but they take it seriously.
The Mutual UFO Network, just a brief overview of who they are. It's a group of individuals who said, look, if no one else is going to take care of this, if no one else is going to investigate this seriously, a bunch of investigators got together throughout the country and said, we'll form like MUFON. That way, no matter where in the country something comes up, we'll send somebody,
Yeah, to check
a
it
member,
out.
to check it out. That way, we don't need to use all these resources or anything else.
Okay, hold on. One more time. What does MUFON stand for?
The Mutual UFO Network.
Okay.
All right. So, MUFON to date reports that there have been 9 different types of aliens that range from the Andromedans, the Flatwoods Monsters, actually listed as one, the Greys, the Hopkinsville Goblins, or the Little Green Men, the Nordic aliens, Reptilians, Syrians, and the Anunnaki. So let's just kind of go down the list. Who are the Greys? Greys tend to be a little shorter than human beings in appearance. They've been around kind of since they were some of the first, really, that were popularized, right?
Yeah, a little slit nose, the almond eyes, the
Right,
the
right.
emoji.
Yeah.
Yes,
alien.
Yeah, with
The
the big
hills.
round head
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah.
The Hills are the ones that came forward with them and said, this is what we saw.
Right.
That big first abduction that got national recognition.
Little slit mouth, no ears.
And they're also the species that supposedly crashed at Area 51.
Roswell, yeah.
That's what everybody saw at Roswell, was these little gray aliens. And so I think they're kind of the most popular when you say, extraterrestrials to people nowadays.
Well, I think when you say alien, that's what people think of immediately.
automatically.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it. I know some people don't like it, but I love the movie Paul.
Oh, yeah.
If folks haven't seen that,
Pretty good.
Paul is a perfect little gray alien, and his explanation is that when the government found him, they've slowly been putting his image into the zeitgeist so that people wouldn't panic when they saw his
Right.
people
Mhm.
Yeah.
if they were to visit. So I think the Greys being the most popular ones, but there has been variations through the years. One variation showed like they had a bunch of like really wrinkled eyes, you know, where they're more hung down. I've seen ones where the eyes were way up high, up on the forehead, you know, looked more bug-like, more insectoid.
Little antenna.
Antenna.
With a ball at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where you're like, that. What purpose
What
does
I
that serve?
picture is, do you guys remember the officiant in Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I picture. Yeah.
I was kind of wondered if that's what he was.
I don't know, man.
Right?
I'm guessing he was supposed to be some sort of monster kind of thing, but he ended up looking a lot like an alien.
Like an alien.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like a gray.
Yes.
And we've speculated on here a few times that those could possibly be biological drones.
Non-human biologics.
So in a way, they could be either a species that either does this or was engineered to basically be like the workers or the scientists even. I mean, they could be the super smart ones that would go to Earth or go visit another planet, get that information and come back, and for whatever collective or other species that they work with. Typically, these things do not talk out of their mouth. Typically, it's...
They talk out of their...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I talk out of my ass.
They communicate via ESPN.
Yeah.
It's all sports.
It's all sports all the time.
My gosh, I know some people that are like that.
But they tend to communicate telepathically. And what's really interesting is, you know, some abductees you listen to, and I know everybody can identify with this, and you're like, your story's pretty wobbly. I'm not really buying it. But then there's some people where you're like, man, even if this didn't happen, you're convinced it did. And some of the things that they say really, really kind of touched me, because they talk about how when the communication was happening, it wasn't just words. That the Greys also projected like an emotion.
Yeah, it was almost feelings.
Yeah, on into them where it's like I felt calm for some reason. They really kind of reassured me that everything was going to be okay without saying it. And that could be part of what they do, you know, like either that be a lure or a poison before I get you, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mental anesthetics.
Yeah.
Before the probing.
Before the probing.
Let's talk more about the probing.
But generally, when people refer to the Greys, there has been kind of a difference. Are they malevolent? Are they aggressive and dangerous? It's been both ways. Where some people are like, no, you know, like we were talking, it made me feel great. It was okay. They gave me this knowledge and then they let me go. There's been other people who were like, oh no, I was an animal. They did tests.
Yeah.
They took things from me.
And put things in you.
Yeah. Sometimes
chips
very
or whatever.
personal things. You
Probes.
know, stealing eggs, stealing sperm, like reproductive stuff tends to be kind of the big popular thing. Man, like the feeling of violation has just got to be horrible for those individuals. But so, I mean, it goes both ways, you know, but, and if we look at the Travis Walton incident.
Right.
And the things that he's come forward and said later, and I realize that there's a lot of people out there that don't buy his story, but to me, it's one of the most convincing stories because I honestly feel that Travis kind of did that to himself. And the beings were like, well, now I got to fix it.
Right.
So get it up here. Let's repair it and get it back down to Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because later on, when we talk about the Nordics, it's one of the instances, just one of the instances, where Greys were working with the Nordics.
Or for.
Yeah. And so that's been seen more than once, where people are like, this is who took me. But once I was there was another guy,
Right.
and he looked just like me.
There's humans, yeah.
There was humans, and he just wouldn't talk to me. And that's happened more than once, and that happened with Travis Walton, where he said, you know, the Greys were standing over top of me in the lab, But when
he freaked out,
when Travis showed like he was going to do some violence, he was going to defend himself, they bolted. And then the Nordic man came into the room and was like, okay, he didn't say anything.
Calm down.
But basically was like,
I'm a human here. Everything's okay.
Everything's okay. So that's who the Greys are. Now, for the Reptilians, the Draconians, I'm going to push it over to Aaron on these guys because he loves the reptiles.
The lizard people.
Tell me about the Reptilians,
Okay,
brother.
so you got the Reptilians, Draconians. They're tall, scaly humanoids, look like lizards. Reptilian humanoids date back at least as far as ancient Egypt with the crocodile-headed god Sobek. Reptilian conspiracy theories been advocated by David Icke, as we all know, but these guys are my favorite. They are shape-shifting reptilian aliens that purportedly control the Earth. All the rich, famous people gaining political power, manipulate, the human condition, essentially. And Grant's got pictures of some of these guys, and you tell me what they look like, because you got Henry Ford, super reptilian looking. John D. Rockefeller, super reptilian looking. Then our buddy Mark Zuck, that has the platform we're on, super reptilian looking, if not completely alien. Justin Bieber, shapeshifter. And then there's several others. I mean, if you Google like rich or famous reptilians, you'll find a lot of them.
Yes.
And they all have this weird reptilian look to them. But then there's also the Ubaid figurines that are about 7,000 years old. There's another photo of these guys. 7,000-year-old clay-fired figurines that look like a reptilian woman holding a child, suckling, and a reptilian dude. I mean, these things have been around and plaguing mankind forever. And then you can kind of get into reptilians forced underground when the Anunnaki came, on and on. But there's a couple other things that I love about lizard people is we covered them in the Denver International Airport episode, the DIA, because that's where that's like their headquarters.
Supposedly, like, doesn't DIA, like, there's theories. There's 10,000 theories about DIA.
Systems,
and it's all linked to their underground world.
Yes. Right? And so I gave Grant a couple of photos of this. There's me in front of a billboard that says, what are we doing? Are we, improving the airport, adding restaurants, bars, improving the lizard people's lair? So they're leaning into it.
Thank you.
For sure.
Habitat.
Then there's another one that's like a lizard dude with a construction helmet on. It's like, sorry for all the loud noises. It takes a lot of drilling to get to the underworld. And then there's another photo of me with not a little gray man, but a little blue man outside of Voodoo Donuts, because that's their thing. They got this alien with this donut. But the lizard people, man, I have gone down the jackalope hole on lizard people forever just because they've been in underground tunnels in L.A. back in the day when they were looking for gold around there and found this huge construct of tunnels. And all of the natives that had been in that area forever were like, that's where the lizard people live. To Hopi tribes, all across the southwest United States, Egypt, everywhere, there's reports of lizard people that had either come up. There's a lot of different origin stories for these guys. They either came up from under the ground, were born of the earth, or they came down from the heavens. And it's just absolutely fascinating. And the people that are really into lizard people, you cannot convince that they don't exist.
Wow, really?
I mean, it's a hardcore like cult of thought for lizard people, and they're just fantastic.
So where does the evidence of this come from outside of like old ancient culture? Is this mostly like people not liking someone and they're like, he's a lizard guy.
Floyd's a lizard person.
Like projecting that on.
People go into their houses and they're like, why does this look like a reptile tank? Why is there a rock for sunbathing.
Right, yeah.
Why is he always sitting under that blue UV light, warming himself, eating crickets?
Why is there a little rock tunnel in here? I don't get it. What is
Yeah, see,
this?
that's my thing. Is I guess, when people talk about photographic evidence, and that's something that we're constantly critiquing amongst each other and on the show, we never know what's real and what's not. I've seen a lot of videos where people are like, oh, there was the second set of eyelids
they
that
blink sideways.
Yes.
that they swear that they catch on film, or
Aaron
individuals
and I
who
were
have
talking about
to,
that.
if someone's not feeling, and I've done this. This is my thing. You're out there, you're not feeling well, and you put your hands on your face, and they're adjusting their mask.
Oh,
They're
gosh.
trying to not
they're
shape
trying
shift.
to not. Yeah, they're trying to hold it together.
V. Do you remember the old
I
TV show V?
absolutely remember
Lizard
V.
people.
Lizard people.
Is that before my time?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a 1980s miniseries on television, and it was a group of.
It was horrifying.
It was. It really was, though.
Because I was young.
I was young too. I was way too young to watch it.
I
That
was
scene
too.
where she eats
Yes.
the guinea pig
Okay,
really
but I wanna
bothered
watch
me when
it.
I was a little
Oh
kid.
no! Now you watch it, and it's like
It's kind of
So
cheesy.
I love cheesy.
kinda cheesy.
yeah.
I love cheese.
Then
It's-
though, oh my god,
Man, yeah. But
State-of-the-art
a group
scary.
of aliens lands on Earth. They look like us, and so we're like, oh yeah, let's be buddies. And so we start learning each other. But then we start to realize that they are not, in fact, human. That they are an alien reptilian
Lizard
species
people.
who are here to farm us.
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah,
And that's
harvest us.
that's the thing. Is like, your hero's running around trying to save the day, and no
Right.
one believes him. Kind of a, and then they made that movie. They live.
I think so. They live.
Is that the
Grant's
one where you
nodding.
put the sunglasses
nodding.
on and it changes the frequency?
Yeah,
Which is
well, yeah.
something else that somebody has said, that the lizard people actually have the ability to put a frequency into your head to see what they want you to see.
Mm.
And if that frequency is interrupted,
Then you see them for
you
what
see
they
the
are.
truth. And so somehow, because of all the electronic equipment that we've developed through the years, that signal will be interrupted every once in a while, and people will be like, that motherfucker ain't real.
Yeah,
you know
right,
what I mean?
exactly.
Like, that guy's not real.
Totally.
And-
But that's funny that you bring that up, because that was the first go-to thing before she kind of came out and was like, "Hey, you stole my headphones," or whatever the problem was with her. That everybody was like, "Oh, there was a guy and he had a hoodie on and he was just real hidden and everything, but his eyes did this."
Yeah.
And it was a lizard person on the plane.
Hmm.
And that's why she said he wasn't real.
Did you ever see the video of the guy himself? He made one.
I feel like I'm watching a tennis match, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. He made a video after that
Mhm.
entire incident, and he was like, just so you guys know, I'm the guy. And
Right.
he's just like an average dude, man. But
What better way to hide your lizard personality than just come
be
out and
the
say I'm just a
average
normal
dude, yeah.
guy?
I'm normal, man.
Yeah.
I'm government man here from government.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's my thing though, is I don't understand where the idea comes from that is so believed. It's almost like you said, created like a cult of thought, that these things are in power. That
Mhm.
it's almost like, but for me, and not knocking anybody who does, but I don't believe in the lizard people idea.
Mhm.
I think it. I know.
How dare
I know.
you?
It's a shock. It comes from, for me, us of the lower class have always looked up to like the royals, those who were in charge, and
Where there are some lizard people.
where you gotta find something wrong with. They're not
See,
one of us.
And that's my thought too, is that it's more so just of reason.
yeah, why they're in
for
power
Why
and I'm
they're
not.
up here and we're down here.
You
Yeah.
look at it
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
right? One, well, duh, they're lizard people, so they're smarter than we are,
Mhm.
right?
Which I have seen videos of little lizards running around chasing a fake egg. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how smart.
Not very clever.
No, not very
They're
clever.
very cute. I will say that.
But so you've got the fact that they're smarter than we are. they created something that, well, you can't just create that, which made them lots of money. So, I mean, the people that I listed, look at that. Henry Ford, what's he known for? The construction line, essentially,
He
of
made the assembly
manufacturing.
line, yep.
Assembly line. Tons of money at the time. Weird-looking dude. Well, he must be a lizard person.
Right. Well, and Rockefeller,
It's
same
just-
thing.
Rockefeller,
It's just
same
explaining
thing.
why they look so
Zuckerberg,
odd.
same thing. You go, okay, he's goofy looking. He's worth $126 billion. I don't like him. He's a lizard person.
Right. He's rich. He's famous. He's up there having
Right.
all of this. Obviously, there's
Obviously,
something
there's
different
something
about
else.
them than it is to us. And that's kind of how I see it, though. I mean, it's the whole idea.
But that's also part of the buy-in is you look at them, they look different, they act different. And you're like, okay, they're not like us. So that kind of gets me going a little bit like maybe there's more to it.
well,
Maybe
and-
they are. Maybe they're lizard people hybrids.
But I mean, if you look through the history of like what Rockefeller did to make himself, he made himself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he just understood how to work the system. And once again, you know, when it comes to people putting other individuals in this place of worship, it's something that the human being wants to do for some reason. They feel like they have to serve something bigger than themselves. And it's just part of the human condition, whether you buy into it or not. Because I do realize there's a lot of us who don't. I don't put anyone in this position to be worshipped. No gods, no masters, baby. And that's just the way it is. But we've done that throughout history when it comes to things like lords of an area. You know, you got a warlord who's gathered all this stuff, and now he wants to protect the stuff, so he makes a castle, and then his family gets extended, and then that castle gets bigger. It's just, that's how the power is gained.
Maybe it's because when you were saying that, I was like, well, who hoards things? Dragons. Maybe there's a connection between
I'm just
dragons
saying.
and lizard people.
Or
They are called draconians.
Or the idea that we look at the human and say, you are a dragon. You're a hoarder. You allow these people to starve while you're sitting on a mountain of gold. You are a monster. Maybe all of it is that, you know.
Maybe
Or
that's
maybe
how
they're
it
lizard
started.
people.
But maybe that's how it started, where people started going like, "Oh, they're a dragon,"
They're a dragon.
and that was meant as an insult, you know, like
Yeah.
they don't care about
it
us.
just
They're
works out.
selfish, hoarding, all this and that, and then it became actual lizard people.
Well,
you
so
know what
look
I
at,
mean?
like-
Like people thinking there's actual
Yeah.
lizard people.
Because, you know, little Joey, her daddy say this to his friend, and they're like, he's a lizard. And so little Joey's friends say that. Little Joey and his friends all grow up believing this. They teach it to their children and blah, blah, blah.
It's all a game of telephone.
Maybe it's because those people are real lizard people. Duh.
Okay, Aaron.
But there's so many different ones. So you've got the Miami, Vegas aliens, right? You've got the Predator. From Alien, you have the face hugger, that guy. You've got the aliens from Men in Black. You've got the Independence Day aliens. You've got octopi, which I think are completely alien.
They are little freaks,
yeah,
aren't
they're-
they?
well, and that's-
they're a little weird.
They've actually found like some DNA stuff where they're like, this doesn't
Mhm.
line up with anybody else.
Right.
So
And then Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's so many aliens, so little time. And then don't forget the straw-haired, chisel-handed freak.
Oh, he's
that we
real.
talked
what
about.
did we call his name was Onso 1 or Ono 1?
Anzo.
Onzo. And
Aso.
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 Okay.
Aso 1.
I think he was a robot, though.
Yes.
I
Which
don't think he was an actual. I think he was either a drone or you know, like an artificial intelligence that was a
See,
tool.
And that's when they interview Grush. And he would never, ever, ever say aliens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He would always say non-human biologic.
And if I remember correctly, he never once said extraterrestrial
No.
either.
So what does that mean? And we've had this discussion. Is it like Terminator? So it's robotic AI under a living tissue. And that's kind of what I think the Greys are, is they're mass-producing Greys, and that's why they send them here. They're like, well, if we lose some,
we lose some.
So
not
what?
that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I was thinking
We're not going to send the Nordics down there because the Reptilians are already down there.
Well, look at what we do. We're not going to Mars.
Yeah.
No, right.
We
exactly.
send our drones.
I was thinking that straw hair chisel hand is what I like to call him, but I was thinking that was maybe their early understanding of what humans looked like, and they were trying to.
Oh.
They were
like either create one
We
or-
got the hair.
I don't know. Give him a chisel.
What about his hand, man? I don't know what humans' hands look like. Gosh.
And then you're like standing there and you're looking at a photo that one of your other guys brought back, and you're looking at your creation. You're like, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
It just happened to be somebody holding their hand straight. And they're like,
Right.
chisel.
Like a little Barbie
Nailed it.
hand.
Well, when it comes to, the way that the reptilians developed and the way that some of these other cryptids almost developed, I would almost put the reptilians as like a cryptid as opposed to an alien, because
So throwing them in more with like Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster.
something that, if they are here, they've always been
So
here.
I guess I wouldn't even put them in that category. For me, at least, I would just put them in with like the just conspiracy theory
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
of
Something
that.
all their own.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, because it is a conspiracy theory, whereas like cryptids are like, creatures, and whether they're animal-like or not, like, do they understand
Yeah.
what's going on? Whereas lizard people would understand everything that's going on. You
Right.
know?
Yeah,
So
they're the ones in control.
I would just
after all.
put them in conspiracy theory. I wouldn't put them in
Well,
with aliens or cryptids.
So
myself.
we kind of tossed this around yesterday. What if not all the dinosaurs died, and there were just some that went underground? Well, after millions and millions and tens of millions of years, they probably become more advanced. What if some of those came up somewhere? They were like looking around, going, "Holy cow, this is not what we left."
Look what happened to the monkeys.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then somebody catches eye of them, and they're like, "Lizard people," and they're like,
Yep.
You're like, "Oh, cool."
And I mean, I suppose that they could be. No, I don't. I don't.
Oh,
believe it.
I was gonna hit you with,
nah,
see, you're a believer.
I
No.
couldn't do
No,
it.
and I'm not either.
I can't.
I'm sorry.
It's kind of like the whole Illuminati thing for me. It's the idea
Totally
that
true.
someone else is in charge. Believe it or not, like a lot of conspiracy theorists take comfort in the idea
Mhm.
that someone's behind
all of it.
this.
Yes.
Because it's terrifying to think that no one is.
that no one's in control.
No
you
one's
know?
in control. This place
Oh no, it's the
is-
cabal.
it's complete chaos. What happens. There is no one.
Yeah. What's the cabal? What is that?
It's the secret society. It's the secret government outside of the government,
Oh.
run by the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, lizard
okay,
people. Come on,
okay.
Knights
Keep up.
Templar.
Keep
yeah.
up.
Knights Templar. Yes.
So, yeah, but I don't buy it. I'm an absurdist, which is the idea that there is no order.
Mhm.
This
Just
whole
all
thing,
absurd,
this
yeah.
whole thing is just absolute BS chaos, and that's what it is. Like if you look at it from a scientific point of view, it's all just BS chaos that has just happened to fall in line correctly.
Mhm.
And matter of fact, one of the interviews that supposedly was conducted by the U.S. government with one of the Greys, when people started talking like, that they're not from the stars, they're from another dimension.
Mhm.
They're Earthlings as much as you are, but they can cross space-time and basically go from one multiverse bubble to the other. That's what
Right.
they figured out how to do, and that's what they're doing. They asked him, why do you continually come here? What is it that draws you here? And he's like, well, the being responded, it's not so much Earth. Like, it's Earth. You guys fascinate us because you're life. It's your universe.
Right.
Because so many universes are not stable.
Right.
So when we find one that is stable, we check it out. We're there a lot.
Right.
And there's a lot of universes that are, but it doesn't near the number that are just absolute chaos or are just being formed. And when I think about things and I think about probability, that sticks out.
Mhm.
That interview that may or may not have happened, but just that one phrase sticks out. If you had multi-universe, right, it doesn't mean that they're all stable. It doesn't mean that everything did fall in line.
Right.
It
In
doesn't
every
m-
single one of them. Yeah.
It would be an absolute chaotic mess of just, one bubble popping and another one forming, and boom,
maybe-
boom, boom, just a continual
Right.
thing.
Maybe we're becoming less stable, which is why all
And
this
maybe we
stuff
are.
is coming out.
And maybe we are.
Well,
Some people believe,
It's constantly less stable.
some people believe that we're actually passing through
Right.
another universe, which is why we have like mandala effects.
Right.
That some people are from an old universe and some people are from this new universe. But when we pass through it, once it actually, however long that might take, it might take eternity. Who knows?
Right.
But because you
Could
think
be
about
tomorrow.
something, I think our universe is it's like hundreds and hundreds of billions of light years across. And that's basically what math tells us. But I mean, there is an end to this whole thing. And if the Big Bang Theory is to be believed, then it would be more like a bubble because it would explode in every which direction,
Mhm.
right? And so ours, it would either be meshing through or bumping up against
Going into another.
other universes. So who knows?
Well,
but
it's kind of funny you bring that up because in a 2020 study in the Astrophysical Journal, scientists at the University of Nottingham estimate there to be a minimum of 36 communicating intelligent alien civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. Researchers assume that Earth is not special. If an Earth-like planet forms in an Earth-like orbit around a sun-like star, hosting civilizations would develop technology in a similar way to humans. There would be approximately 36 Earth-like civilizations in our galaxy. In that case, other technological civilizations would send out signals such as radio transmission, satellite TV, trying to contact other life forms, much like we do. SETI, as a matter of fact. If you don't know what SETI is, go look that up. It's amazing. But there should be at least a few dozen active civilizations in the galaxy under the assumption it takes 5 billion years for intelligent life to form on other planets, lead researchers said. The idea is looking at evolution on a cosmic scale. Interestingly, though, and they said they refined the equation using new data assumptions recently, found that it's more likely that there should be between 4 and 211
yeah,
intelligent societies just in the Milky Way. Milky Way sports 250 billion stars. So it should be way more than 36 because that's less than what appeared in Star Trek. Then they said that the count may be as high as several thousands. The issue, though, and we've covered this before, is finding those civilizations because if they're 100,000 light years away.
we haven't even developed in their view. We're nothing.
Exactly. How do you contact? Or by the time a signal gets there, they're gone.
And we're wiped out. They're wiped out.
Something's eradicated.
It's just
whatever.
too dang far away.
I mean, you look at and I used to tell the kids this, and I think I've said this before. You look at the night sky, and you're like, oh, there's the Big Dipper. Pfft, is it? I mean, those stars could have been burned out 100 million years ago, and we wouldn't
Right.
even know.
Yep. Technically, that is long gone. Or
You're
it could
looking at the past.
Be. Mhm.
So
Ancient history.
I have no doubt that there's other or were other intelligent civilizations out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what are the ones that are coming here?
Or what are the ones that survive? I
Right.
mean, if we've talked about, I think they give 5 different explanations or theories as to why we probably haven't seen alien species yet, scientifically, and one of them is we are alone, we're it. We are just like a miracle.
How sad would that be?
That would
though?
be
How
really sad.
Like,
in all
I
of
just
this
think
infinite
that would be
space and time,
horrible.
life only develops here.
And we're it.
Well, we're doing a
This is the best the universe has to offer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
and we're doing a crap job to take care of it,
Yeah.
right? Or two, there is an intentional silence throughout the universe because other alien races know of an empire or something that shows up and wipes out everybody the moment they say anything. They've seen this happen, and so everyone's quiet,
Right.
and we're being loud, and they might even be like, "Shut up,
Right.
shut up, shut up," you know? Yeah,
They're out there.
because
Yeah.
that's another theory. There is something out there, but they don't put up with anything else. They show up, they take your resources, they wipe you out. They do not care. We are the dominant force in the galaxy, and everything else is dust. Doesn't matter. Or there's a veil where a society has never passed through. It always ends up either being destroyed by a natural phenomenon or destroying itself. Intelligence cannot get past this veil, or never ever has. And then, of course, like gamma ray bursts, when we first saw the gamma ray burst, we've had a whole show on that, how terrifying that is. When we first saw one, we were like, oh, wow, that's absolutely terrifying.
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah. But when it happens, it wipes out like entire systems, right? Like if we got a gamma ray burst to pass through, our whole solar system would just be gone in just a second. But we thought, well, that's rare. But then I think it was Hubble who really started looking at it, and they were like, yeah, it's not. It's
Oh,
actually,
God.
it's
In
actually
fact, over the last
really,
couple
really
of
common.
days, we've had like radios and satellite and GPS dropping and being jammed
Yeah.
because of sun flares.
Is that why it's so damn hot around here lately?
Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
And global warming,
Careful.
but it's
But
fine.
But for me, I mean, like, maybe the universe doesn't allow it, where it's just too chaotic yet. The gamma ray burst, the sun explodes, there's a black hole that just kind of waltzes into your neighborhood and sucks your civil. Like, it just doesn't allow it to happen. It just hasn't had enough time to get from, DNA to intelligent DNA. Just couldn't get there yet. So
I want to talk about the goblins. Can we please talk
Okay,
about
we
the
can talk
goblins?
about
I really...
we're gonna
Hopkinsville, goblins.
Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah.
On the evening of August 21st, 1955.
That's my birthday.
Oh! 5 adults and 7 children arrived at the police station claiming that small alien creatures from a spacecraft were attacking their farmhouse, and that they'd been holding them off with gunfire for nearly 4 hours. Reports state that the size of the alleged creatures varied from 2 to 4 feet and details large pointed ears, claw-like hands, and eyes that glowed yellow and spindly like legs. So official reports actually came down. What happened is the police went out there to, honestly, from what I read, the police thought this is one family shooting at another family, and we need to go.
Hatfields and
We
McCoys.
need to go
exactly my
fix
thought.
this up,
exactly
right?
my thought.
But when they got out there, they didn't find anything except bullet holes all over the house, but everything had been shot out.
Yeah.
And so eventually it got to the point where, the official report, because the U.S. military went out there too. There were, I want to say 2, but that double check that. MPs went with them, military police, probably thinking the same thing. This is no big deal. This is just, a feud that got out of hand. And so the official report was the great horned owl scared these folks, who apparently, and I would think probably country folks, rural country folks, I'm pretty sure they know what the hell an owl looks like.
Uh-huh.
And Grandpa's not going to be firing off, well, unless he's hungry, firing off, shooting a great horned owl for no reason for 4 hours.
It is the birthplace of bourbon. I'm just saying.
Well, But I mean, like, that's my thing. Is it's so easy for some of these people to be like, oh, Johnny was jacked up again,
And
out
the
there
owls came.
firing the rifle. When the fact of the matter is, they're like, look, man, spaceship landed, these things got out and came to the house. Now I can see a bunch of rural community members going, get my gun.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot that thing.
Shoot the ghost.
Shoot the ghost.
Shoot the ghost.
Shoot the ghost. And we're going to defend our home, which every single human being has the right to do so. But for 4 hours?
See, that's the problem with this story is like they didn't. I mean, they did describe owls, kind of. I mean, off of that description,
2 to 4 feet
but
high.
you know what an owl looks like you said. You're not. How terrified out of your mind do you have to be?
What year was this again?
1955.
50, yeah. How terrified out of your mind do you have to be to keep shooting guns through your home for 4 hours
Yeah.
if it's just owls?
Yeah. It's ridiculous, right?
And was it just the one guy shooting, or was it like
No,
multiple people in the
apparently
family?
it was like all the adults.
Could
it
you
was like
imagine?
They were
though?
defending their home.
But could you imagine it was Grandpa who started, and then everyone's like, "What's he shooting at? Let's get the guns."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a possibility.
That's the greatest thing about everything we talk about is there's nothing that's off the table.
Yes.
No,
I mean,
well,
it could have been Grandpa all hopped up on moonshine. I saw aliens. And they're all like, oh, shit. Ah,
the rest of the family's like, that's it. Get the gun.
Yeah.
We're heading
Get
out.
the
of here."
Winchester
It's all
Cletus.
aliens. Let's do it.
But
Our time to shine.
But I mean, like, think about that. For 4 hours, you got the kids in the house.
Yeah.
You're shooting at these things. You're seeing them come and go. Someone, somewhere,
4 hours.
4 hours was like, my shoulder's getting sore. Papa, could we at least go see if we got one?
4 hours later, they leave because they're like, okay, obviously these people that we came to visit are not that friendly.
Yeah.
They leave. They bust out of the house, go to the cops. The cops show up and they're like, owl lands. And they're like, well, that was it.
There it is.
Honestly, though, I would probably think the same thing. If I was in the house, they described that to me, and then all of a sudden I saw an owl in there, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Is
it
there
was the
a gas leak
shadows.
in here?
Maybe,
Like-
yeah. Could be a lot of factors, but
I don't know.
I do love just thinking about these owls messing with these people.
I don't know. I think and that's the thing. Like this story, it could be just that. It could have been a bunch of people who panicked and went on a 4 hour.
4 hours.
See, okay,
I couldn't
here's
even
the
imagine
thing.
doing this for 4 hours.
4 hours.
Go back, watch past episodes of like Shadow Man, ghosts, knocking, whatever. Never once. Now, did I clear the house with a gun because I didn't know who was in the house? Yes.
Yeah.
Did I shoot through my walls for 4 hours? Nope.
For
No.
4 hours.
Did I shoot anything?
That's,
Nope.
No.
that's the part that's getting me.
That's the part, though, that you have to be so absolutely terrified.
And convinced
And
something is
convinced.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
that doesn't just happen.
And it's not just one. It's a
Right.
family of people who are doing
How much
this.
ammo did they have? This
Well,
is Kentucky, right?
Clearly not
You said
enough if they
Kentucky?
only lasted 4 hours.
It's a rural home. And 1955, you were still hunting. That was a means,
Right,
not
sure.
for
Yeah.
sport. That was a means of survival. I imagine they probably had a lot. And if we sit here and think about it, a standoff, you're not standing there for 4 hours just,
No, it's probably
I know,
going
but
off. See
still.
something.
take a couple shots.
Yep.
All right, everybody get down. Oh, holy crap, here comes another one. Take a shot at him, Roy, and I'm going to go over here.
Mhm.
It's 4 hours of like probably tactically trying to defend your home. But I mean, that's 4 hours.
But I also
Somebody could have just looked up and been like, I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to see what this is. And I'm going to come back. Wouldn't an adult do that? Let me go see what's outside
Yeah.
before we
Right.
before we sit here for the next
And
4
shoot up the
damn
house.
hours.
But I also, if these things were indeed in the house, why is no one else injured? Why are there no other shots in the house besides their guns? You know what I mean?
Well, maybe these things don't have weapons. Maybe they came in and they were trying to assault them telepathically. Maybe they, went after one of the kids to try and abduct them, and the family's like, "Not today, Junior. Like,
I know. I'd need more info.
Right?
I think I need more info on this story.
Maybe we'll take a closer look at that in a
I would
future show.
love to.
You know,
Just think
because
that
they
would be
said to this
great.
day that home still, or that community still celebrates that event.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, we're gonna.
Maybe we should
go
go to
a
the
little bit-
event.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
We're gonna
wouldn't it?
go
That would be fun.
That would be
a little
fun.
bit more in
Like
depth.
Mothman days.
Yes, I would love to.
Okay, so there's something else I kind of got down the jackalope hole up, and that is a Syrian starseed. Now, a lot of people believe in this stuff. I don't, but it doesn't mean it's not real, okay? But a Syrian starseed is a soul, for lack of a better term, believed to have originated from the Sirius star system. These individuals are characterized by a blend of determination, intuition, and a deep affinity with water, and their thought to carry all of this wisdom and knowledge from this advanced society to Earth to embody a human being to further us along spiritually and as a civilization.
So earlier I was like, am I one of these? And then Floyd asks me all these questions. You failed to mention the high tech though, because I am the opposite of that.
Well,
I can
and
barely figure out my cell phone.
you know, I didn't get too into this stuff because there are people out there who firmly believes that they are these star seeds that have been sent to Earth through means that we do not understand. Not physically, but your soul is here. It's embodied what you are, and you're here to further us along.
It's kind of beautiful though. You know what I mean?
It's a peaceful society. From what I understand, that this is how this alien species furthers societies along.
Yeah.
That they figured out a way to take this energy, whatever it is, this consciousness, send it to Earth or send it to other planets and embody their body and then teach them, you know, whereas you could be a Syrian starseed and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You're just like, man, you know, that guy's really intuitive, or that guy's really like, he's got his finger on the pulse of everything for some reason. And maybe you don't even know, you know, you like to swim for some reason. There's an affinity with water. I think maybe because like
They're
their
all
home world,
Minnesotans.
Water.
well, maybe maybe their home world is a water planet, but that once it, and I don't think there's like an awakening that they're waiting on or anything. It's just, this is who they are. And this society just keeps sending these star seeds to try and further us along by implanting energy or souls. It is kind of beautiful. Like, I'm not saying I buy into it, but that would, like, if I was an alien species, we don't know what these things look like. That's one thing that we've talked about before. The only thing that we can compare anything to is what we scientifically know exists, and all life is carbon-based, according to science. That doesn't mean that all life has to be carbon-based.
Just what we know.
It's just what we know, where we're like, this has to take place. There's got to be DNA because everything on this planet has DNA.
Right.
So for us to classify life, that's what it's
There
got to look
can't be
like.
life on a methane gas planet.
Right.
And then you find like all this life around the methane, tubes in the bottom of the ocean. Maybe there can be.
Maybe there can be.
They're just walking around with a Dutch oven contraption. It's like how they breathe.
Yeah. Well, and there is a germ. I think it's a bacteria, and folks can double check this, that they found on the the cooling towers of nuclear power plants.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, that is an area that nothing is supposed to be able to exist in. Right. And yet there's life.
It thrives.
There's life. And so, after Chernobyl, there was life. I think life has an ambitious determination that nobody gives it credit for. And so who knows? There could be like a methane-based life, even though there's,
and
scientists out there go, no way.
Think about bacteria and how
Very simple.
it's just so simple, but it's so ferocious in living. You know
Yeah,
what I
right,
mean?
absolutely.
It's so hungry to live, and yeah, it's
But
very
that's
interesting.
so you've got the four main aliens that we think about: the Greys, the Greens, the Nordics, and the lizard people, right? But that's what births all these other cool aliens like Alien or Predator
Yeah,
or
yeah.
because you go, okay, what's really gross? Spiders. So make
Give 'em
a
a spider
spider
face.
alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of that comes from. But the reports, the actual reports of people that are like, no, this happened to me, seems like it's always those four.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people that, oh no, he blinked sideways. I saw it. No, okay.
Yeah.
And I love lizard people, but I haven't really heard any abductee stories like the lizard people came and got me.
Right, yeah. I went to their underground lair. We hung out for a week.
Right.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
They
Right.
have pizza. You know what I mean?
Totally.
They have pizza.
They have pizza,
I'm
like-
so hungry.
Ninja Turtles. But it's those three, the Nordics, the Greys, and the Greens, right? That's
Yep.
the ones that they show up in your house, they take you into a ship, they do this stuff to you, give you a
They
tour,
abduct cows.
they take cows, and then they drop you off.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the three. Those are the ones that it's like when they say 36, sure. And maybe it's 4 different strains of Nordics and 5 different strains of Greys. But I have a really hard time, I do and I don't, with like the Predator. Because it's kind of humanish, but it's kind of got a spider mouth, scorpion parts. Yeah. Is that possible? Totally.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, nothing's off the table when it comes to what could that alien life form look like. I mean,
Yeah.
you take Europa, for instance. So it's one of the icy moons of Jupiter, and they think that there's an ocean underneath of it. Well, then Lake Vostok down in Antarctica, it's, I don't remember how many thousands of feet under the ice, and they're like, nothing could live down there. And then they take samples, and it's teeming with life. So
Yes.
what's going on in Europa? Is it fish? Is it just bacteria?
Mm-hmm.
Is it an advanced
But even
species
then-
of underwater mer people?
Bacteria is still a living life form,
It's
you know?
life.
So it's like you have to look into that. If there is bacteria there, that's something.
That's alien life.
Yeah.
That would
So there
classify
you go.
as alien life. And I mean, there's been fantastic evidence that has come forward about certain gases that have shown up on certain planets where they're like, there's only one way that gas is developed, and it's a byproduct of life. And so the idea that there may be bacteria leads to the idea something more than bacteria.
Right.
Something more, because even Earth at one point was probably nothing but a bunch of algae, and that's pretty advanced as far as life goes. Algae is pretty complicated
Mhm.
when compared to like a very simple bacteria. So, who knows what's going on out there, and who knows what can be produced. If this energy that we call a soul, whatever consciousness this is that we have, if that can exist past death, some people believe it goes to a heaven. Some people believe it goes back into, a pool. Some people,
Ghosts?
some people believe
Ghosts.
that it's nothing, and then it's just cut off. But all of us can at least say together, there's a consciousness, there's an electricity, right? There's a fantastic documentary that points out I can take a car apart piece by piece. We can put it all back together and fill it full of fuel, fire it up, it'll take right off, right? I can take a dog, take him apart piece by piece,
Goodness. Sorry. That was
put him all
loud.
back together.
Nothing happening there.
Nothing's happening. What is it? And it is the one fundamental thing that we haven't grasped yet, because we know the chemical makeup of life.
Mhm.
We can simulate the chemical makeup of life, but we can't start the engine, and we don't know how that is happening. So obviously there's something. Whatever that something is, that could exist on another planet
Mhm.
in like this advanced form where they're like, check this out. These guys are going through some tough stuff. Let's help them. Let's send some of our people down there. Try to kind of kick them along. You know what I mean? Why not do that? If you're a benevolent species, why wouldn't you do that? So the starseed thing, even though, you know, some people might be like, hey, that's pretty kooky. It's as viable as any other religion that I've ever heard of.
Right?
Right? So, yeah.
And it seems like a nice one until
Well,
you get into the
a
culty
benevolent-
stuff.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know anything about it other than what's written on the paper. But
the thing that keeps
yeah.
popping into my head is you think about a lot of oceanic life.
Mm.
They don't know what's out there. Ocean's huge.
Yeah.
They're tiny. And they just flutter in the current and let their seed or egg or whatever go, hoping that it hits somewhere, and it does, and it grows something.
Jellyfish don't give a damn who's sitting in the Capitol.
I love jellyfish.
Jellyfish do not care
Yep.
what you're doing today. You know what I mean? They're gonna be jellyfish tomorrow. And on
That's how I'm going to live my life, man.
just
I'm just going to be a jellyfish
just drift with
tomorrow.
the current, baby.
Drift with the currents.
Just drift with the current.
But it's very similar to that thought process.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're gonna take this germinated seed, whatever that is, and just send it out there. And if it hits and lands and it creates something, awesome.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, well,
Mhm.
we tried.
Mushrooms do it.
Right.
One big sprout and
Yes.
everything goes everywhere.
Yep.
So who knows? Now there's also the avians.
Yeah.
There's a deep conspiracy theory, or there's deep theories that the avians helped out with
You
like
can say conspiracy theory, baby. It's okay.
they believe that the avians helped out with the pyramids in some way. You
Mhm.
can look into that yourself. I didn't really look into that. Again, like the avians, the reptilians. For me, that's like, you know, a 5-year-old came up with it. They're like, wouldn't that be cool if so and so
hurts.
had
That
Yeah.
hurts a
Well,
little bit.
I love you. I love you though. There's also the Arcturians. We've addressed the
Yes.
Arcturians. The Arcturians are actually just the little green men with big eyes. Yes, they are different than the Greys from descriptions. They, although they could have been the same thing, someone was just sick that day. You know, like a Gray shows up, I don't feel so
I don't
good.
feel so good.
You still got to go to work,
You're
Ted.
looking a little green, buddy.
Now get out there and abduct someone. All right,
You
so
haven't filled your quota.
yeah, you ain't filled the human quota yet.
You
And
got
then of
the
course,
cows. You got enough cows. I need the humans.
Yeah.
this is going to bring us to the Nordic aliens, which we've talked about. They look very human, and actually, to tell you the truth, Nordic aliens or the Nordic extraterrestrials that people talked about said that this is the species that the governments are most concerned about, because Nordic aliens could be standing right next to you and you'd never know. They look indistinguishable from human beings. And so again, I think, you know, with the way that they work with the Greys, if we expand on what Grush was saying and kind of just, you know, speculate on some of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
what if the Nordics are actually us, human beings, either from the future, from the past? Maybe they
Under the ocean.
maybe they understand space-time at such a level that we can't even comprehend where they're from yet, where they're like, bro, we're from everywhere, or whatever, you know, we're like, because that's one thing for me where what I hope happens when I die is whatever energy this is, I will see that the universe is much bigger than what we can comprehend. And when I say that, I don't mean in size. I don't mean in mass. I mean in consciousness level. Like everything that we've even thought or proposed is nothing compared to what it is. And I think maybe that's the truth of it. Because another thing that a lot of these government whistleblowers have said is, if you knew the truth, it would change the world. And I keep thinking to myself, so why don't we know the truth? Let's change the world. Wouldn't it change it for the better? Not necessarily. And there's much smarter people who probably have this evidence, who probably know what's going on, who understand this would end society. As you know it, this would end society.
Mass
But then
chaos.
I then heard a former CIA agent, actually say, society needs you dumb. The system is in place to keep the average American pretty ignorant. Pay attention to the election, pay attention to your sports, go to work, pay your taxes, because that's the only way a society and a government can exist. And the government became self-aware and was like, the only way I'm going to survive is if they pay their taxes. And I need them going to work. I need them paying attention to the boob tube. I need you just wanting the water to flow.
Why
the
you gotta call
electricity.
it that? The boob tube.
That's
Why
what
you
it was
gotta call
called.
it that?
That's what it was called back in the day.
That's what-
Back in the day.
The tube.
Not
Yeah.
anymore.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
okay,
back in
okay.
my day.
Them there moving picture screen, whatever you want to call it.
Perfect, yes.
So, but that's what they need you to do, and that our entire system is orchestrated to keep us in line like that. And that if you are a dejector, if you are someone who sticks out and you're like, this doesn't suit me, that's actually the people that they look at and they're like, you want to be an agent?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Come on over here, because we've noticed you don't just stick out, but boy, you stick out.
We noticed you noticing us from
Yeah.
across the bar.
Yeah, you want to come to work? But see, that's the exact thing that I would do, because if I was a government, I need you paying taxes. The system
But you
only-
also need the guy that sticks out or girl.
I absolutely
That's like, well,
need
wait
the
a
guy.
minute.
Yeah,
I'm questioning this. I'm questioning no.
yeah.
And I would pull in, well, much like they did. I mean, Grush was a whistleblower, but he also, I mean, I'd have him on my team.
Absolutely.
You look at the lead investigator for Skinwalker Ranch show. They pulled him in. I mean, he was one of their lead investigators for CIA and all these guys, just because they're like, you know a lot about this and we can't keep you quiet, so come on over here.
Mhm.
Well, and the thing about Grush and his testimonies, he never gave up any national secrets,
Mm-mm.
right? And I really appreciated him for that. Yes, I'm sure the government's doing nefarious stuff. Yes, there's agencies that are doing nefarious stuff. They've done bad things to our own citizens in the past, and I'm not justifying any of that. Whoever, what did I tell you one day?
You
Secrets.
tell me lots of stuff, lots of days.
I know, I do.
I need
But-
it more
Same
specific.
here. Yeah.
But my thing is, I believe that the government should be keeping secrets. I believe that the government should be doing anything to keep those secrets, but harming another human being, especially a citizen of your own country, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
So the question,
If your secret involves corruption at any level, you're done. You're out. You're finished. I want them on a slab somewhere. Those are the people we need to weed out.
right?
But these agencies exist to keep us safe. It is a madhouse.
Well, and there are just some
Out
things we don't need to know as the average
Well, so
citizen.
the
We don't
question-
need to know some of those
Agreed.
things.
Agreed.
So do we have aliens, extraterrestrials, non-human biologics working in the government?
do I believe that?
Yeah.
I think we've worked with them. I don't think they're putting on a suit and tie and heading to work every day.
No, and I think
Give
especially
me the mask.
I think especially as Americans, they're not in the American government. Again, yes, we could be working with them as like a, what would I call that? Like a liaison or something.
Yeah.
But Americans are far too untrusting of the rest of the world.
But if they're Nordics,
But to think about the outer world on top of that, I don't think they're necessarily in the government, but I do think there's been some sort of collaboration.
And I think the Area 51 incident kind of opened up the can on that one.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think beforehand, yes, they'd probably been here. I do believe the Hills and their testimony.
Mhm.
I do believe what they went through really did happen. And I think when Area 51 took place, I think maybe the government made some deals. And I think that when we had some of this tech, we were like, we don't have the resources or the people to reverse engineer this. And so we reached into private corporations. We gave those private corporations certain rights that may not have been a good idea, because now those, I don't believe it's the, like, your elected officials,
No.
from your hometown that are sitting there going, we got to keep this under wraps, Joe Bob. That's not, I don't think that's it. I think there is major corporations out there who've had these secrets. Too many people, too many CEOs have come forward and said, I can get ET home. I can do this. We've been doing that for 50 damn years. Too many have come forward. There is something going on. There is something going on. And whether these theories are correct or not doesn't matter, because there is something happening. And these CEOs and these major companies are behind a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think they're working with the aliens, whoever they are. If it's the Nordics, cool. If it's the Greys, cool. If it's the lizard people, maybe not so cool.
So many people abducted
I
every year
like
for food.
reptiles. I don't know. Maybe
Right.
it'd be a good thing.
See, and again, that's another thing that always gets me. I know we're running long on time here, but the fact of the matter is, people are like, well, they take so many humans and eat them every year. Dude, have you not had beef? I'm sure it's much better than human.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we covered that on one of them, that we might be like the crab legs of the universe.
Oh,
That's
man.
so hilarious.
God, then the universe has got to get some better taste. I'll tell you that.
Do you know how many microplastics we have in us? God.
Yeah, they'd be like, you're contaminated.
Delicious.
No. Tastes like Tide Pod. All right. You've been watching the Jackalopes Explore.
I'm so hungry.
For Tide Pod?
Yeah.
I'm so
I
hungry.
want some crab legs.
Calm down, people will start realizing that you're